Hi, my name is Paige, and I'm going to be doing my educational thinker presentation on Mortimer Adler. He was born in 1902 and died in 2001. A fun fact I learned about him was that he actually dropped out of high school at the age of 15, which is really interesting because he became such a big influencer and impactor in the educational system. So I thought it was a little bit ironic. Some of his educational ideas included using a loose version of the Socratic method, which meant that he was using discussion-based arguments in the classroom setting. So sometimes his peers and his classmates would leave a little bit irritated, which wasn't uncommon. However, he was able to get the discussion going in his classes, which was very new in the time period that he was teaching. Another educational idea is that he thought that teachers should be present during their own lessons, meaning if they're using the discussion-based lessons, they need to be present rather than just teaching and reading off of a lesson plan and using that. They need to be present, answering the questions as they come and involving their students in order for everyone to get the full educational experience. Also, another educational idea is that classes were not long enough. So he did not feel like a 50-minute class was long enough to discuss a topic deeply. And later in life, when he had educational seminars, he would hold 2-hour seminars just to cover one question, so that everyone in the audience or in the classroom setting was able to have their discussion, have their opinions, have their critiques from one another, and they were really able to have a back and forth so that everyone could deeply think from many different perspectives. So Adler did have a lot of educational impacts. One of his biggest was the Great Books program, which Adler influenced, and this basically allowed many schools to adopt this program. So basically his importance and emphasis on the classical education is where this Great Books program was born off of, and it focused on literature and philosophy, more importantly, ranging from ancient to modern day. And he believed that through using this Great Books program, you were able to have the entire curriculum in one literature class, which was a very new concept in the educational world. So he also impacted many colleges and universities. That's really where his impact lies, is that he used the discussion-based approach, which bringing that debate into it allowed students to feel more involved and more heard, making them identify more with the actual curriculum and the material that they're going over, helping them retain it and also helping the professors understand and have a deeper knowledge of it. In my opinion, his most important educational impact, though, was that he was able to bring into the educational space students to form their own opinions. By having these discussion-based classes on one question or on the great books and great literature of our time, he was able to allow these students to not only have discussion and debate and arguments, he also allowed them to form their own opinions. They were able to gain other perspectives, and from those other perspectives, they really got an idea of what the real world was like, which in turn allowed them to kind of find themselves and to really think of in a child or a student in the education space as someone who is able to form their own opinions rather than just taking in knowledge. He allowed them to form their own thoughts, opinions, figure out what works best for them, and figure out their beliefs. So there were some critiques to Adler, his educational ideas, and things that he did impact. So one of the biggest critiques was the Great Books program. So a lot of people did critique this program, mainly because the books on this list were written by only white males, which, as we all know, doesn't give you much diversity because, again, bringing back that discussion-based, really wanted people's perspectives and other people's opinions, when you're only reading books from white males, you're not getting that diversity. And so that was one of the biggest critiques that he did have, because that Great Books program was taken in by so many different schools, that he was, you know, kind of cutting off certain classes, certain genders, certain ethnicities. He was cutting off that diversity, and so that's one of the biggest critiques. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it.